Alrighty, so in this video, you should have downloaded this image on the last video or in the resources section of this course. And you should have Adobe Photoshop open, and you should have this image opened as well. So I'm just going to assume that that stuff is fairly common knowledge, easy peasy kind of stuff. But I do want to let you know that as I go through this course, I am going to explain the tools and I am going to explain some of the concepts and theories like masking and that sort of stuff in this course because this technically is a course for beginners, hence the title. And so I'm going to walk through all of that information. So just be aware that if you're a seasoned Photoshop professional, I am going to spend some time talking about the tools and what they do and that sort of thing. So the first thing I want to cover is that we always want to work non-destructively in Photoshop, right? Because there's nothing worse than going out onto a scene and setting up a model and spending all day photographing her, and then you come here, you get home, you plug in your card, and you're ready to rock and edit this thing, and then lo and behold, you're sitting here and you're making changes, and you've done something like hit the save button on accident, and what happens is it overwrote your card, your original image, right? And now you have this stupid image with some text or change on it that you can't undo, and you can't, your image is pretty much lost. Now, does that happen very often? Absolutely not. And especially as time progresses and the more, familiar you get with like a workflow from photography to importing and all of that, it becomes less and less of a thing. But anyway, we always want to work non-destructively in Photoshop. So now that we have our image opened up here, we want to go ahead, and the first thing we want to do is we're going to come over here to the layers panel, right? And if you don't see the layers panel, you can always just come up here, click this little, there's this little icon up here, click it, click Essentials, or you can click Reset Essentials, all right? And it will reset your interface to look just like this. You can also go to Window, View, Layers, F7 button, and it will bring up your layers panel over here. So we're in Photoshop, we've opened our image. Our image is opened over here in Photoshop. So what we want to do now is we want to go ahead and move our mouse over the image, right? We're going to click, and then we're going to drag it down to this little icon right here. And that's going to create a copy. So down here you have all these little icons, and this one right here is to create a new layer. And everyone has their preference and people do it differently, but I always, no matter what image I'm working on, I always leave my default image alone. So see, and the layer's locked, right? Photoshop, that's kind of like good practice. So Photoshop by default doesn't allow you to edit this background image, so that's fine. So here it is. I'm going to go ahead and turn that off, and then I'm going to just type and change the name of this layer, and you can do that by mousing over, double clicking on the text, and I'm just going to type working layer. All right, you can name it whatever you want, but I'm going to name it working layer for the purposes of this course. So we're on our first step to working non-destructively. So now, no matter what we do to this image, if we paint it, if we cut it, and we somehow accidentally save it or something stupid, you'd be surprised. It's like, I've done it, right? I'm a seasoned professional, and I've saved and worked destructively, and I've always regretted it. So just number one rule in Photoshop is always to work non-destructively. So whenever possible, create additional layers, create workflows and systems and tools for you to work non-destructively. So that's step one. We've opened up our image. We have came over here to the layers palette, or the layers panel, and we've dragged it down to the new layers icon, and we created a new layer, and we are ready to rock. So we will get started in the next video.